Hey folks, Kevin the Fit Chef here with another great episode of Fit Chef TV. And today I have a great recipe that we're going to share with you today. It's going to have you flexing on your next meal. Today I'm going to show you all how to make one of my favorite meals that I used to have when I was younger. It's going to be a fried green tomato. So we're going to do a little bit of a twist to it. We're going to add tomato gravy on top of the fried green tomatoes. So stay tuned, I got something special for y'all. All right, folks, here we get started today. We're gonna start off, before we start actually frying the green tomatoes, we're gonna make a real quick, nice, spicy tomato gravy. This guy right here, you can love it. You can pour it over biscuits. You can use it on the fried green tomatoes. Remember, we made biscuits in the first episode. You can always refer back to that guy. Check it out. So we're gonna start off, we're gonna have a skillet on about a medium-high heat, just like this. I'm gonna use about half a stick of butter. Because again, in the South, we measure everything by sticks of butter, right? So, get that guy nice and melted a little bit. Then you're gonna take one onion and you're gonna cut it in half. And you're gonna dice this onion up in small chunks. And of course, oh, this one's easier to peel than last time, right? There we go. Cut it through, dice. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna make these onions nice and translucent. Then we're gonna add a little bit of garlic to it. Here we are. Get those guys in there. Perfect. So about a half of a medium onion. You don't want to have too much onion, but just enough in there. Then we're going to take one garlic clove. You're going to smash it down. Get it to a nice small dice. Here we are. There you go. Get it diced up really nice. That way you can throw the onions in there. That way you throw the garlic in there. Get everything nice and going. Perfect. And what we're going to do is we're going to let this cook for just a little bit. And we're going to get these guys nice and soft and tender. So you want this to be nice and soft, tender, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna add some flour to this, and we're gonna make a small little roux out of this. So, get this guy, get it kinda cooking. There we are. Now, I have a cast iron skillet here, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this oil up to about 350 degrees. So, I got that going. While this is going right here, we're gonna make a quick dredge, and we're gonna make a quick batter so that we can bread our green tomatoes. So, 2 cups all-purpose flour, put it into a bowl. Then you're gonna add 2 cups of panko breadcrumbs. There we are. Then you're gonna add about 1 tablespoon of salt, just like this, 1 tablespoon. And again, we're not trying to take too much seasoning into the actual green tomatoes because we really want this gravy to stand out. All we're trying to do is kind of season the breading just a little bit so you can taste it, just some. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna add a little bit of blackening seasoning. You can use Creole spice. Personally, I prefer Tony's. And I'm gonna mix this up really nice right here. Then we're gonna add our wet ingredients. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna take a nice dish like this, and you're gonna crack in 3 eggs, just like so. There we are. Then you're gonna add in roughly about, let's say I'm gonna do about 2 cups worth of buttermilk. And then we're gonna take a fork and we're gonna get this guy broken up really nice right here. There we go, get all that mixed together really nice. So we have our batter ready. We have our oil getting going over there. And we have our, oh, I gotta slice the green tomatoes. I forgot about that part, right? So that's mixed up. This is mixed up. I'm gonna move this out of the way for me so right quick. That way you can see what I'm doing here. And let me grab a few of these tomatoes. So, one thing I love about green tomatoes, you can get them, pretty much all the time throughout the year, especially when you have like a greenhouse. Whenever I was younger, we used to always go pick them out of my grandpa's garden whenever I was like 3, 4 years old, out there in diapers, picking green tomatoes. We'd set them on the windowsill, wait for them to get ripe. Of course, we would get impatient, so we always ended up having fried green tomatoes. So you want about a 1/2 inch cut on these tomatoes. Nice thick tomatoes. You don't want them too thin, because you want to actually taste the flavor of these guys. Of course, the little butt ends, you can use them, you can fry them if you want to. Personally, I like the nice thick middle parts of it. So I'm gonna do about 3 of these guys. And of course, you can look over, you can see the onions, the garlic, all that starting to get soft, translucent. So now what I wanna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of flour into this guy. And I'm gonna put about 3 tablespoons, maybe 2 tablespoons of flour in this. There we are. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a roux out of this. So this is gonna be our roux. That way it gets nice, thick. Whenever we add our half and half, we're gonna add some half and half to it. Here we are. And then we're gonna use about 1 can, 16 ounces of diced tomatoes. And so we let that roux cook for just a second. I'm gonna add in these tomatoes. There we are. I'm gonna add in a little pinch of tomato paste, just for a little extra tomatoes, right? So I mean, we got tomato paste, we got tomatoes, diced tomatoes, we got green tomatoes. You know, one of my favorite jokes, and I tell my little girl, I got a little 5-year-old daughter, I tell her all the time, I love her from my head to my toes. Tomatoes. Perfect. Then we're gonna add a little bit of chicken base to this guy, and we're gonna let this start to get kind of thickened up a little bit. So we're gonna add this in there, get this kind of turned around. That way that tomato flavor really comes out while we're cooking it. And so our fryer oil is going nice, and I'm gonna turn that down just a little bit. And then we're gonna add a little bit of crushed red pepper to this. Here we are. Because of course we want this to be spicy, right? So a little crushed red pepper. Gonna add 2 cups, a half and half to this. And so here we go with the half and half. There we are. And then we're gonna let this stew down, and we're gonna let this get nice and thick. Shouldn't take but just a few minutes to get really thick. You'll see it start to bubble up and it start to get really thick. It's gonna go great over this these green tomatoes. So I'm gonna let that thicken up for a second, and then we're gonna fry these tomatoes up. Tomato gravy starting to get kind of thick, starting to bubble up a little bit. That means it's time to go ahead and dredge up these green tomato slices. So pull out the batter, and of course in this situation you always want to make sure you keep one hand wet, the other hand dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these sliced tomatoes in here, do a little dredge, and then here we are. And of course pick up a little bit and make it nice and thick. You want to put it down on there and pat it down just a little bit, and then you grab the next one. Here we go. And so we're gonna bread these guys up. Do about 5-6 slices here. Get these guys put in the deep fryer. I see my cast iron or tomato gravy starting to get really nice and thick. I forgot to add a little bit of salt to this, so I'm gonna add a little bit of salt. You want to add about 2 teaspoons of salt to this. There we go, perfect. Oh yeah, that's getting nice and thick. There we are. So, real carefully, you're gonna add these guys to your deep fry oil. Throw them in there. Oh yeah, that's it right there. Be careful not to splash it in there. Obviously, you don't want to burn your hands and burn your fingers. I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. I'm gonna let these cook for just a second. All right, so these tomatoes are frying up real nice. The tomato gravy is starting to get really thick. I'm gonna wash these guys. I got a plate here with some paper towels on it. That way we can get the excess grease off these guys before we plate them up. So this is going really nice. Oh yeah, that's gonna be beautiful right there. Can't wait to have these. It's almost kind of like my grandma made, but I couldn't remember how she made hers. So I'm kind of guessing it's kind of like hers. So, tomato gravy's nice and thick, look at that. Oh, there we are, there we are. Green tomatoes about to come out. Turn this guy off, clean up just a little bit so we can get a plate ready. Here we are, so that way y'all can see all this beautiful action right here in front of you. I'm gonna use a nice little rectangle plate, and then pull these tomatoes up, drain that excess grease off just like this. Here we are. Oh yeah, these things are beautiful right here. GB&D, golden brown and delicious, just like I like it. Perfect. Nice thick piece of tomato too. All right, let that drain up some. And then what you wanna do is you wanna layer these guys straight across top, just like so. Perfect. There we are. There we go. And then you have your tomato gravy. Oh, this is absolutely phenomenal. Look at this. Oh, look at that. That is amazing. Like I said, you can also put this on biscuits. It goes really, really good with biscuits. And so I'm gonna put this here. Perfect. And then gonna add a little bit of color to it. So I'm gonna chop up some of these fresh chives to go across the top, just like so. And there you have it. A nice set of fried green tomatoes with a nice spicy tomato gravy to go across the top. Like I said, this is something that I've had many times. In fact, I used to make this recipe at a restaurant that I worked with in Vicksburg, Mississippi for a good while. And we used to add crawfish tails to it and have a spicy crawfish tomato gravy. Oh, it was phenomenal. I appreciate y'all. By the way, you can check me out on Facebook and Instagram at Kevin the Fit Chef, and be on the lookout later this year for the cookbook of all these great recipes coming straight to your house.